Chapter 1. My girlfriend came from a poor family but was obsessed with marrying into wealth. To win over an online rich heir, she took out a loan to buy him the latest Apple trifecta for Christmas. I tried to warn her that the internet is full of scammers, urging her not to fall for it. But my girlfriend, Victoria Bellwether, scoffed. "You're just jealous he's rich. That guy is the crown prince of a listed group. What he makes in a day is more than you'll make in a lifetime. You think he cares about this chump change?" Later, her borrowing spiraled out of control. To impress the heir and get him to take her home for the holidays, she even took out a nude loan to buy him gifts. I had no choice but to tell her parents. For that, she hated me. She shoved me into the street where I was run over and killed. After I died, she took all my savings and ruined my family. When I opened my eyes again, I was back on the day she first met the online heir. "Baby, I think I got matched with a rich heir in a game recently, and he even added me as a friend." The moment I opened my eyes, I saw Victoria looking at me, her cheeks flushed with excitement. I glanced around at the familiar surroundings, and my heart began to pound violently. Had I been reborn? Victoria didn't notice my strange behavior. She was still incessantly showing me her game in her face. There was a new friend notification. The home page displayed rows of expensive skins, making Victoria's face flush and her heart race. She couldn't hide her excitement. "I told you I could meet a rich heir in a game. Look, someone who can spend hundreds of thousands on game skins must be a wealthy young master to verify if the other party was truly a rich heir." Victoria chatted with him for a bit before adding him on a messaging app. As soon as the friend request was accepted, Victoria immediately opened his social media profile. Seeing a feed full of luxury cars and mansions, a satisfied smile spread across her face. "If we can get on good terms with an online heir like him, won't our future be limitless?" Hearing her delusional words, my fingers began to tremble uncontrollably. After all, in my last life, it was for her so-called future that Victoria sent me to my death. Victoria always complained that I lacked ambition and made too little money. "How can you support me earning this dead-end salary?" She wished she could split me into 8 pieces, forcing me to work around the clock. But even when I gave her my entire salary and tried to meet her every demand, she was never satisfied. "You're incompetent at work and you lost the birth lottery. Why couldn't you be a rich heir? How did I end up with a useless waste like you?" However, her own family situation was average at best, and she couldn't find anyone better than me, so she could only vent her frustrations by berating me. A few months ago, Victoria decided to change her life. She spent several months' salary on new clothes, took photos at high-end restaurants, and curated her social media profile. Since she couldn't break into the upper echelons of society in real life, she took an unconventional route, deciding to hook a rich man online. She was known for her fleeting passions, and besides, I didn't believe she could actually meet a rich heir online, so I didn't pay it much mind. I was only a little concerned about her extravagant spending. I gently reminded her, "Your family still has debts to pay off, and your mother is chronically ill. There are a lot of expenses at home. Could you try to be a bit more frugal?" Victoria retorted with displeasure. "What do you know? This is called branding and investment. If a woman doesn't invest in herself, how can she get ahead?" She was naturally pretty, and after spending a fortune on her image, she did manage to cultivate the air of a wealthy heiress. Slowly, things started to go as she had predicted. People in her gaming groups began to worship her as a goddess, some even sending her hundreds or thousands of dollars just to get her attention. But Victoria was still not satisfied. "These guys are all broke. They can't spend that much on me. If I can attract them, means I deserve someone better." So she invested a huge sum into the game, finally managing to connect with an online rich heir under the persona of a gaming goddess heiress. To craft an image of a cool and aloof goddess for the online heir, Victoria frequently took out loans to check in at high-end restaurants, meticulously curating her social media. She even sent him a graphics card worth thousands of dollars for his birthday, and I knew nothing about any of this, until one day I received a text message about Victoria's overdue loan payments. Chapter 2. I rushed home from the office and grabbed Victoria's phone, only to discover she had taken out a nude loan for over $20,000. Shock and rage flooded my brain. I questioned her in disbelief. "Have you lost your mind over a game? You borrowed $20,000 and it was a nude loan?" Victoria shot back dismissively. It's an investment, don't you get it? If I don't spend money on him, why would he spend money on me later? I almost laughed out of anger. I patiently tried to explain that the internet was full of scammers and that she shouldn't be fooled. Victoria refused to listen to my advice, retorting, "You're just jealous he's rich. He's the crown prince of a listed group. What he makes in a day is more than you'll make in a lifetime. You think he cares about this chump change?" We had a huge fight over it. Though I was furious, she was still my girlfriend, and I couldn't just stand by and do nothing. When my attempts to persuade her failed, I had no choice but to tell her parents, Frank and Mary Bellwether. They rushed over from their hometown that very night. Victoria's parents were farmers from the countryside and had never seen so much money in their lives. Her father was so angry he started cursing and hitting her. I stepped in front of Victoria to shield her, repeatedly promising that as her boyfriend I would help her change her ways and do my best to repay the loans. Only then did the old couple relent. I never expected that Victoria would come to hate me for it. She resented me for meddling and getting in the way of her online romance with the rich heir. She pretended to make up with me, and the day after I withdrew money to make a payment on her loan, she pushed me into traffic, causing a fatal accident. After I died that day, my soul didn't leave. It floated in midair. I watched as Victoria took all my savings and even sent messages to my parents impersonating me. She lied and said she was pregnant with my child, using the baby to extort $50,000 from my parents as a dowry. My soul watched helplessly as my parents scraped together their life savings and gave it all to her. I screamed and tried to stop them, my essence tearing apart with grief, but it was useless. The agony of being crushed to pieces, combined with the despair and fury of being betrayed by the one I loved, still haunts me. Sincere, hurry up. Transfer me $2,000. Back in the present, Victoria's repeated demands pulled me from my memories. Seeing me lost in thought, she impatiently pinched my arm, snapping me back to reality. "Did you hear me? Christmas is coming up. I need to buy him a gift so he'll send one back to me." Looking at Victoria's entitled expression, my stomach churned. Thankfully, fate had given me a second chance. This time, I decided to put away my kindness and simply respect her destiny. Chapter 3. Faced with Victoria's aggressive demands, I played dumb. I've already sent all my money to my parents. I only have a few $100s on me right now. When Victoria heard I was broke, she exploded. "Why would you send it to your parents? Who told you to do that?" I soothed her in a gentle tone. "Didn't you say we have to buy a house and a car before we can get married?" They've saved up some money over the years, but it wasn't quite enough, so I sent mine over to help. Hearing that the money was for her future house, Victoria's expression softened slightly, but she still looked reluctant. "It takes so much trouble just to buy a house. Your whole family is so useless." I suppressed the rage boiling inside me and forced a perfunctory smile. "About the gift, baby, why don't you buy it with your own money first? When I get my salary this month, I'll reimburse you." The word reimburse finally brought a smile to Victoria's face. She was lost in her own fantasy world. I wonder what he'll get me in return. Given his status, if I spend $2,000 on him, he should give me at least $20,000 back, right? To set the bait, Victoria opened a group chat for pooling money for luxury experiences and arranged a lavish photo shoot package with a few of her friends for the afternoon. She planned to post a set of exquisite photos to her social media profile. Reimburse her? Of course, I had no intention of doing that. Victoria was a bottomless pit that devoured people whole. Having been given a second chance, I had no desire to get caught in that mess again. The memory of her vicious expression as she pushed me in front of that truck sent a chill down my spine. "Baby, Apple just released their latest models a while ago. I deliberately gave her an idea, hoping to speed up the process of her taking out loans in this lifetime. Sigh, if someone gave me the latest Apple trifecta, I would definitely remember them for the rest of my life." "Ha! As if you deserve it," Victoria said, her face filled with disdain. I paid no mind to her constant ridicule, secretly observing her actions. As expected, she soon fell into a thoughtful state. Her initial hesitation quickly turned into resolve. Victoria seemed to have made up her mind. She confirmed with me one last time, "You'll reimburse me when you get paid, right?" "Of course, baby," I said with an utterly sincere smile. "Just tell me how much, and I'll cover it." Chapter 4. That afternoon, Victoria called her best friend, Wendy Miller, and asked her to go shopping. Wendy sounded hesitant on the phone. Vicky, you only make what, $3,000 a month? Suddenly spending tens of thousands on gifts for someone. Doesn't seem right, does it? Victoria, however, was unfazed. What's not right about it? This kind of stuff is old news for the upper class. I'm almost embarrassed to give him Apple products. Wendy then tried to involve me. Sincere Clark, you're her boyfriend. Aren't you going to talk some sense into her? I sneered internally. Why would I talk her out of it? I had no intention of repeating my past mistakes. In my previous life, it was Wendy who fanned the flames. She had blamed everything on me, saying that if I hadn't interfered and told Victoria's parents, they wouldn't have tried to stop her, and Victoria would have already married into a wealthy family. Her slanderous accusations had sent Victoria into a rage, leading to my death. This time I stood firmly by Victoria's side without a moment's hesitation. I think Vicky has her own ideas, and I support her decisions unconditionally. After all, investment and return are proportional. If you don't give gifts, why should anyone give them to you for free? Victoria glanced at me sideways, her face a mask of arrogance and contempt. She scolded Wendy. Why are you asking him? If he understood any of this, would he still be in the position he's in today? With that, she impatiently hurried Wendy along. Let's go, Wendy. We're going shopping. I don't have enough on my card, so you can cover for me first. So that was it. She had invited Wendy to be her wallet. An unnatural expression flickered across Wendy's face. She was about to make an excuse to refuse, but I quickly cut her off, pushing them both towards the door. I've already called a cab for you. The driver just called. He's waiting downstairs. Wendy could only let herself be reluctantly pushed downstairs by Victoria. After watching the two of them get into the cab, I immediately started packing my things at top speed. During the years Victoria and I lived together, I had paid for almost everything: rent, utilities, groceries. I quickly packed up all my belongings and called the moving company I had arranged in advance. It was evening by the time Victoria returned home after buying the electronics. Wendy, who was with her, looked annoyed. Victoria, my rent is due next month. You have to pay me back quickly. Don't worry, I'll pay you back as soon as Sincere gets his salary. For the next few days, I'll have him pick up a food delivery gig at night. Victoria opened the door and froze, staring at the empty living room. Sincere Victoria's face turned red with anger. Did we get robbed? What the hell happened here? I shrugged, feigning innocence. Weren't you short on cash? I had everything sold. Seeing her face flush with rage, I sneered inwardly. The despair of my family's ruin in my past life was a wound that had never healed. In this life, Victoria's fate would be far worse than mine. The real revenge was just beginning. Chapter 5, with Christmas. Just a few days away, Victoria started trying on outfits in front of the mirror. It was the same in my past life. She spent several months' salary on a designer outfit, dressed to the nines, and went to meet her online crush full of confidence. But when she got to the meeting spot and saw the rich Heir leaning against a sports car across the street, Victoria immediately lost her nerve. Her carefully constructed vanity shattered into foam the moment she saw real wealth. So, Victoria fled, but in her haste she bumped into someone. She looked up and saw an unattractive man, his face fleshy, probably weighing over 250 pounds. Victoria wrinkled her nose in disgust. Then, an idea struck her. She decided to give the gifts to this heavy-set man, pointing towards the rich Heir sitting across the street, indicating that he should deliver them. She watched the man walk towards the Heir, but just as he was about to hand over the gifts, Victoria almost made eye contact with the Heir and fled in a panic. Back home, Victoria began to feel resentful. She quickly arranged another meeting with her online boyfriend. This time, Victoria wore the designer clothes she had meticulously prepared, with flawless makeup and high heels, and arrived at the designated place, feeling both nervous and excited. But this time, the same heavy-set man was still by her online boyfriend's side. Only then did Victoria realize that the man she had asked for help was her online boyfriend's friend. So Victoria deliberately waited for a moment when the man was away and rushed over. She tried her best to put on a pure and charming expression, her voice sweet and coquettish. "Darling, guess who I am, however?" The Heir just glanced at her, his brow furrowed in disgust and annoyance. He looked her up and down and said coldly, "I don't know you. Excuse me, I'm waiting for someone. Please move." Victoria froze. She never expected such a reaction. She quickly explained, "Darling, maybe I look a little different from my online photos, but if you look closely, do you really not recognize me?" The Heir waved his hand impatiently. I don't know you, stop bothering me. This is ridiculous with that. He turned to leave. Watching the heirs retreating back, Victoria was filled with despair and self-loathing. She felt that she hadn't prepared well enough. A rich heir like him had seen all kinds of women. She had to be exceptionally stunning to win him over. Flipping through an app for luxury goods, Victoria's eyes lit up when she saw a couture dress. She fell in love with a high-end mini dress, but the price was steep, over $15,000. Even if she scrimped and saved, she couldn't afford it. "The money, where's the money?" Victoria shrieked, her eyes red like an addict in withdrawal, demanding money from me. I pushed her away impatiently, keeping my distance. "The buyer needs time to receive the goods. Once the delivery is confirmed, I'll transfer the money to you." Of course, I was never going to send the money. As soon as I finished my work handover, I would move to another city and rid myself of this burden forever. Victoria's eyes burned with intense frustration. She tore at her hair, roaring, "What do I do? I can't meet him looking like this. His whole outfit is worth tens of thousands. If I show up like this, he'll definitely hate me. No, rich people don't want a charity case. I can't let him look down on me. I have to buy this dress." She took out a calculator and started tallying up the costs of winning over the heir. Just for beauty treatments, hairstyling, and clothes, it would cost tens of thousands. If she wanted to proactively go to his city to accidentally run into him, that would be another significant expense. Victoria was frantic, pacing around the empty living room with red-rimmed eyes. She had maxed out every loan app she could find. These days, she had no interest in going to work. Ever since meeting the heir, she had been completely consumed with how to capture his heart, lost in a dream of marrying into wealth. Naturally, she looked down on the meager earnings of an ordinary office worker. Her boss called, threatening to fire her if she continued to take leave and skip work. To this, Victoria just hung up impatiently. Work, I'm about to marry into a rich family. Why the hell would I work the day I get married? I'll have my husband buy your company with that. She angrily blocked and deleted her boss's number. Undeterred, she called Wendy Miller. "Wendy, can you lend me some more? Once I successfully meet him, I'll pay you back 1,000 times over." Wendy scolded her for a bit, but eventually transferred the money. Perhaps it was the sunk cost fallacy. I watched Victoria's pathological obsession with cold detachment. I knew this was just the beginning. Soon she would walk down the same dark path as in my past life. Chapter 6. 3 days later, I was sitting quietly outside the office, waiting for the results of my overseas assignment application. My boss, Mr. Harrison, patted my shoulder. "Your performance has improved rapidly recently, and everyone has seen your capabilities. Relax, you'll get a good result." He was my benefactor, having mentored me since I graduated from college. Unfortunately, in my past life, the pressure from Victoria forced me to juggle multiple jobs for a long time, making me neglect my primary career, and my performance suffered. When the overseas assignment opportunity came up in my last life, Victoria had obstructed it at every turn. Her reasoning was simple. "I don't care about your future. That's all just empty talk. You can't be so selfish. You get a future, but what about me? I need money now. I had no choice." She was constantly draining my wallet, so I had to waste my professional talents and squander my time and energy on physically demanding jobs that paid quickly. Day after day, my body grew weaker, and my spirit gradually withered. In the end, I disappointed the company, and my future was ruined. Thinking of this, I looked at the boss who had always supported me, and my eyes welled up. In this life, I will not let the company down. I will build a great career for myself. After receiving the good news about my overseas assignment, I was about to call my parents when an unfamiliar number rang. "Sincere Clark." "Why aren't you answering my calls?" It was Victoria. After I blocked her, she had somehow gotten a new number to call me. She threatened, "If you dare to block this number again for no reason, I'll go find your parents for a moment." I was speechless. After I died in my last life, I had watched her take all my savings and even impersonate me to text my parents. She used the fact that I had introduced her to them as a tool to deceive them, a vulnerability she could exploit. But having been reborn, I had already sent my parents abroad, and before they left, I used their phones to block Victoria completely. I couldn't be bothered with her. I let out a cold laugh and said, "Oh, please don't call my parents. My mom has a heart condition. If you upset her, she'll faint from the shock. Anyway, I have to get back to work. Bye." Without waiting for her reply, I hung up. The more I said, the more trouble it could cause. All I needed to do was sever ties. Arguing would only provoke her further. Victoria was completely unhinged now. She began to suspect that her online boyfriend hadn't recognized her because she looked too different from her photos. Or maybe he did recognize her but thought she was less attractive in person. So Victoria made another decision. She was going to get plastic surgery. But she was completely broke. She asked me for money several times, but I always made excuses, and eventually, tired of her harassment, I blocked her. With no other options, Victoria decided to go all in. She proactively contacted the nude loan company and sent them a set of extremely risque and seductive photos. Once she got the money, Victoria immediately flew to Korea, bone shaving, a nose job, eyelid surgery, liposuction. She had every procedure she could. When she returned, her face was wrapped up like a mummy. Once the recovery period was over, her new surgically altered face was revealed. Her cheeks were puffy like steamed buns. Her European-style double eyelids were as deep as the Mariana Trench. Her nose was tilted up so high it looked like it was about to take flight, and her lips were swollen like sausages. The sight of her was physically repulsive to me. Just in case, I asked Mr. Harrison for the contact information of the company's legal department. If necessary, I would use the law to protect myself. I told my boss the whole sordid story, leaving out only the part about my rebirth. To prove I wasn't lying, I showed him my chat history with Victoria. Seeing screen after screen of Victoria's insane ramblings, even Mr. Harrison, a man who had seen it all, was left speechless. As I scrolled past a picture of Victoria's online love interest's luxury cars and mansion, my boss stopped me. With my permission, he took my phone and scrolled back to the photo that had just flashed by. My boss pointed to one of the pictures, his eyes wide with shock. Isn't this the young master's car? Chapter 7, he was pointing at a photo of the luxury car that Victoria had secretly taken on the day she tried to meet her online crush. Mr. Harrison immediately pulled up a photo he had taken when handling the vehicle's registration. After comparing the model, color, and license plate, he confirmed it was undoubtedly the young master's car. But that can't be right, Mr. Harrison said, confused. The young master has been abroad and he's engaged. They're about to get married. How could he possibly be involved with your girlfriend? An idea struck me. I quickly found the photo of the online heir that Victoria had sent me. Pointing to the man elegantly sipping coffee next to a Maybach, I asked, "Manager, take a look. Is this our young master?" Mr. Harrison squinted, trying to make out the blurry face in the photo. The overall demeanor seems about right, but the face is too blurry to be sure. He was stumped. Just as he was about to give up, he noticed another person in the photo. But look, the heavy-set guy next to him is quite clear. Wait a minute, why does he look so much like Gus Jones? The driver, he immediately pulled up Gus Jones's employee file and pointed to the man in the blue ID photo. Look, does this look like him? A buzz cut, a pockmarked face, down-turned eyebrows. It was him if Gus is there, then the man in the photo must be the young master, Mr. Harrison concluded. He couldn't understand it. I really don't know what the young master is thinking, getting involved with someone like her. I had died too early in my previous life to know if Victoria had ever successfully met him. Not that I was curious. A terrifying person like her was best kept at a distance. Soon Victoria somehow found out that the man in the photo was the son of my company's president. She was overjoyed. Because the young master had been delighted with her Christmas gift, their relationship had progressed rapidly. With things going so well with her new love, she naturally turned her attention to me. After all, we were still technically together, and I was an obstacle between her and the heir. To get rid of me, Victoria started picking fights with me every few days. This suited me perfectly. I played the role of the heartbroken victim, reluctantly letting her go. But I looked at her with pleading eyes. What about the money you asked me to transfer? I haven't sent it yet. I put on a clingy, persistent act. Victoria, startled, immediately waved her hands. You're a lost cause anyway. I don't even want your money anymore. The little you earn is not nearly enough for me. My boyfriend happens to have a job opening. Why don't you go work for him? I smiled and shook my head. I'm about to go abroad. Victoria looked at me with contempt. So what if you're going abroad? You'll still be a corporate slave. Chapter 8. Since she wasn't working, Victoria decided to become a live streaming influencer. She posted daily updates about her online romance, planning to live stream their first real-life meeting and use the group Heir Halo to launch her influencer career. I had to admit the strategy worked to some extent. The chat logs showing her sending large sums of money to the rich heir attracted a lot of attention. Sending a man that much money? Diagnosis: hopelessly in love. If a girl spends this much on a guy, shouldn't he pay her back double? But this guy doesn't seem to be short on cash. I wonder which family's young master he is. Then Victoria made her move. She harshly rebuked the netizens who called her online boyfriend a gold digger, replying, "As long as he likes it, I'm willing to spend money on my husband. What's the point of earning money if not to spend it on the one you love?" Then she made a promise: "Don't worry, everyone, my husband won't deceive me. We're meeting in person soon, and I'll live stream it for you all." This back and forth earned Victoria a decent number of followers. She had also put her online boyfriend on a pedestal, forcing him to spend money on her, or else he'd be labeled a scamming deadbeat. Soon, the day of the meeting arrived. Thousands of netizens waited in front of their screens, ready to flood Victoria's live stream the moment it started. I, too, stayed up late overseas, curious to see how the meeting I had missed in my past life would unfold. The broadcast started much later than expected. The live stream was not the sweet scene everyone had imagined. Instead, it was a dark and eerie screen. On camera, Victoria's hair was a mess, and she looked panicked as she pleaded with her viewers. "Help me. Everyone, please help me call the police. I'm being followed by a creep." After speaking, Victoria turned the camera to the man following closely behind her. A buzz cut, beady eyes, a fleshy face. It was Gus Jones, the driver. Victoria quickly realized it too. She turned to scrutinize the man's face. Seeing the familiar features, Victoria asked doubtfully, "Is it you?" "It's you, isn't it? I thought I was mistaken, but it really is you. I don't know you. I just asked you to help me deliver a gift once." "Why are you stalking me, you pervert?" Gus, knowing he was caught, had nowhere to run. He lowered his head, pulled Victoria into a tight embrace, and whispered obsessively, "Wifey, didn't you want to meet me? I'm here now. Why don't you recognize me?" Victoria's expression twisted as if she were about to vomit. But what horrified her even more was that this utterly greasy man was calling her wifey. Netizens flooded the comments, demanding to know what was going on. They warned Gus that if he dared to do anything to Victoria, they would call the police immediately. To everyone's surprise, Gus promptly pulled out his chat logs with Victoria. Faced with the undeniable proof of their relationship, the netizens were left speechless. OMG, she was willing to spend money on a guy like this. The power of love is terrifying. It's just a couple having a lover's quarrel. What are we watching? Let's go, let's go. Victoria was unable to defend herself. She desperately snatched Gus's phone, scrolling through the chat history until she broke down. The netizens, bored with watching the couple's drama, began to leave, and the live stream's popularity plummeted. Chapter 9. Victoria was certainly not satisfied that her online love interest was an unattractive, heavy-set man. Undeterred, she tried storming the company with her live stream running several times. Whenever she saw the young heir, Ethan Montgomery, entering or leaving the building, she would rush forward without hesitation, her face plastered with a fawning smile, her voice sickeningly sweet. "Darling, I finally found you," however. Upon seeing her desperate and crazed appearance, especially her stiff and distorted surgically altered face, Ethan's skin crawled. He immediately had security drag Victoria out of the building. Victoria wasn't about to let this opportunity slip away. She clung tightly to Ethan's sleeve, pleading, "Darling, please take another look at me. I've given so much for you. You can't treat me like this." Ethan violently shook her off, yelling, "Let go, you crazy woman. If you keep harassing me, I'm calling security." Amidst the pointing and whispering of onlookers and the criticism from viewers on her live stream, Victoria's face turned beet red. She had never imagined she would face such humiliation. Although Gus Jones wasn't as handsome as she had imagined, with her loan deadlines looming, she had no choice but to start a relationship with him. She never once doubted Gus's identity. She just assumed he was one of the group Heir's buddies and that his financial situation couldn't be too bad. It made sense. When a person is desperate, they cling to such fantasies to survive. And on the second day of their relationship, Gus took her to his garage, which was filled with countless luxury cars worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. At Victoria's insistence, Gus drove her around in a luxury car for a couple of laps. But before she could fully enjoy it, Gus received a work call. On the first day a loan payment was due, Victoria reluctantly asked Gus, "Honey, I've sent you so much money before. Shouldn't you buy me a gift too?" Gus played dumb. "What money?" Didn't you say you were a rich girl and had plenty of money? You're worried about this chump change? With no other choice, Victoria posted their chat log online, hoping to use public pressure against Gus. As expected, guided by public opinion, people began to cyberbully Gus. Someone even dug up Gus's personal information and posted it online. When Victoria saw the word driver glaringly listed under Gus's occupation, her world came crashing down. So much for the rich heir. Just yesterday, she was cruising in a Ferrari, basking in the envious stares of pedestrians, but now, it was bad enough that the online rich heir she had worked so hard to snag was a greasy man, but he wasn't a rich heir at all, just a driver. Victoria was stunned. She finally realized she had been scammed by Gus. She immediately called him, saying she needed to ask him something in person. Filled with rage, she set up her phone to live stream the entire confrontation, intending to use the recording as evidence. Even if she didn't get compensation for emotional distress, she hoped to at least get back the large sums of money and gifts she had given him. But the moment she saw Gus, a fist the size of a sandbag slammed into her forehead, and blood instantly gushed from the wound. "You feckin' bitch, you dare to post a video to cyberbully me," Gus punched and kicked her relentlessly, forcing Victoria to curl up in a corner, hugging her knees. And in the distance, the camera she had deliberately set up was broadcasting everything. The news of the abusive boyfriend quickly exploded online. To punish the scumbag, people soon investigated the couple's information. They didn't know what they would find. As the investigation deepened, several of Victoria's nude photos were leaked by an unknown source. In the videos, Victoria was naked, striking seductive poses and holding a sign stating she was willingly taking out a nude loan, pandering to the camera. Seeing this, Gus immediately posted a video crying foul. "It was this bitch who took out nude loans behind my back. She even slept with people for money as her boyfriend. How could I not be furious?" At this point, Victoria's reputation was already in tatters, so even with Gus's embellishments, people believed him without question. The tide of public opinion turned again. Victoria had planned to use the domestic abuse angle to her advantage, but now she was completely dumbfounded. People started to sympathize with Gus. It's so hard to make money these days, and she took out nude loans just to satisfy her vanity. Yeah, pitiful people have their hateful sides. She took out so many loans behind her boyfriend's back. It's a wonder she wasn't beaten to death, no matter what Victoria said or did after that. No one would ever believe her again. Her twisted values soon got her banned from the platform, and her dream of becoming an influencer was shattered. Chapter 10. Victoria had hit rock bottom. She groveled and begged her former boss to help her find a job, but she had burned all her bridges, and her industry had blacklisted her. Because she hadn't paid back the money she borrowed from Wendy Miller, she was hounded by relatives and friends demanding repayment, so she didn't dare go home. Soon the debt collectors came for her. Victoria knelt, weeping, and begged them, "Please, sirs, I'm begging you. After you leaked my nude photos, I'm socially dead. No company will hire me. I really can't make any money." She then tried to use Gus as a shield. "Please, go ask Gus for the money. The money I borrowed from you was all spent on gifts for him. It all went to him. Please, go ask him." The two of them started slinging mud at each other, each trying to absolve themselves. It was an ugly dog-eat-dog fight. Victoria was her parents' only child, so they couldn't just stand by. The old couple had scrimped and saved their entire lives, hoarding money from between their teeth, hoping to use it for their retirement. Now, all their savings were thrown into the pit of high-interest loans, but the interest on those loans was terrifyingly high. Even after the family threw in everything they had, it still wasn't enough. With no other choice, several burly men tied Victoria and Gus together and broke one of each of their legs. Victoria's father, Frank Bellwether, was already in poor health, walking with a tremor. He borrowed a three-wheeled cart from a neighbor and spent half a day traveling from the countryside to the city. With tears streaming down his face, he brought the semi-crippled Victoria back to their old home. But they were getting old. They could take care of their daughter for a month or two, but not for a lifetime. Left with no other option, the old couple asked around for a matchmaker and, with heavy hearts, sold Victoria to an old bachelor. As her father took the money from the old bachelor, tears streamed down Victoria's face as she begged him not to sell her. Seeing her disobedience, the old bachelor's chauvinism flared. He pushed her to the ground and slapped her, cursing her with filthy language. To control her, he even chained her by the neck to restrict her movements. Day and night, Victoria's screams were enough to give anyone goosebumps. At that moment, I was standing before the glass curtain wall of a skyscraper on the other side of the ocean, looking down at the city below, enjoying a leisurely afternoon tea. When I heard about Victoria's recent situation from Mr. Harrison, I felt a flicker of emotion. I never thought she could self-destruct so completely. If she had just worked hard and been down to earth, instead of fantasizing about marrying a rich man to move up in the world, her fate would never have been like this. This was all a result of her own actions.